What do you think? Do you have something to say for the camera here?
Hi. How are you? You a hungry crow? Oh, you are. You're a hungry guy. Hey. Last year, we had some guys cut down a tree right in front of the house. A big old spruce tree that was dying. When I came home, the tree was down, and the man with the chainsaw said, "I've got a present for you." On the cement driveway was a dead baby crow about 6 or 7 inches long. He pointed to the grass, and there was another little crow, hunkered down like he was waiting to die. I picked him up. Earlier that spring, I saw 2 crows mating in the chestnut tree outside my bedroom window. Now I felt guilty, like I'd betrayed their trust. The crows were part of our family for choosing to nest at our house, and I should have been aware that they were around. I put the little guy in a bird cage, gave him some water, and looked online for how to take care of him. Our neighbors gave me high-protein dry dog food, which I soaked in water and mixed with canned cat food. Good for crows? He couldn't stand up very well. His legs would splay out. He hardly had any feathers on his chest. I didn't know if he was hurt or was just young. The first night I brought him in on the porch and put a cloth over the bird cage, like people do with parrots. I got up in the middle of the night to feed him, but he wouldn't eat. In the morning he ate. I realized that in the wild, crows don't eat during the night, and the babies don't expect to eat until daylight. Yeah, that's good. Show it this way. Show the camera your tongue. Got a little tongue with barbs on it on the side. During the day, I put his whole cage up in our old tree house. For the first 4 or 5 days, his parents didn't know he was alive. I fed him every 20 or 30 minutes and just hung out and played with him. Whenever I left, I put the cage over him so he'd be safe. What? Want to show how you can hop? Yeah, good. Oh, right into the water dish. After a few days, the parents discovered that he was alive. They dive-bombed me and yelled at me. They broke off twigs and leaves with their beaks and dropped them, trying to intimidate me. Of course, they didn't have a nest and the baby couldn't fly, so they just had to watch me raise him. I took him inside at night, but the 3rd day at dusk, he walked sideways out on a little branch where I couldn't get him. Yeah, come on. I had to give up and leave him there. Can't quite reach you. The next morning he was fine. Hadn't moved all night. Each night after that, he roosted further up in the tree. A little closer. Can't do it with the camera. Come on, a little closer. Come on. He grew fast. His eyes changed from blue to black. Oh, let go of that finger. The barbs on his tongue migrated from the sides of his tongue to the top. He learned to hop and flap his wings. Swallow. Yeah. One afternoon, he took his first flight, 50 or 60 feet from the treehouse to a cherry tree. He flew from the treehouse, past the house, and into the cherry tree. I put him on my arm and carried him back up to the treehouse. The morning after his first flight, I was on the deck shooting video of a flower blooming, and all of a sudden the crow flew by, chased by a hawk into the neighbor's yard. I ran after them to a busy street, calling the crow. The hawk answered me, but no crow. 20 minutes later, I heard him in a tree in the neighbor's yard. In 2 or 3 flights, he made it to the garage roof, and I got him on my arm.
He's got 2 people calling, 2 parents calling him.
He became a better flyer, and one evening he flew up into a tall tree to roost with his parents overnight. After that, he'd hang out with me during the day and spend nights with his parents. At the end of July, we went to Minnesota for a week's vacation. When I got back, he was a little more wild and wouldn't get on my arm or head anymore, but still came for food. 8 months before all this happened, in October, I went to a men's work weekend on a piece of land in Wisconsin used for spiritual retreats. We had a sweat lodge, a traditional Lakota ceremony, and during it I had the thought, people do this as a vision quest. A vision would be nice, but I don't care. The next morning when I got ready to leave, the host told me, be careful when you first start driving because you're coming from a different space, a sacred space, and it takes a while to adjust to being on the road. I left, and a few minutes later there was some roadkill with a white bird standing over it. As I went by, the bird took off. What was that? A totally white bird. I looked back in the rearview mirror, and it was a white crow. I thought, okay, should I put on the brakes and go make a scientific ID? Then I figured, no, it doesn't make any difference. This is connected with the sweat lodge. Even if I hallucinated it, it's still valid, still a message. That experience stayed with me all winter, and when summer came, I had a baby crow. All during August, the little crow came by for food and spent the rest of his time learning the ways of the crows. School started for me, and I left every day to teach. On Labor Day, I went out to feed the crow. He flew off and came back again, and I fed him some more. Then all of a sudden he took off, went over the house, to the neighbors, to a big old spruce tree. 3 or 4 crows came zooming by, heading to the same tree, cawing loud. It sounded like a fight, everyone yelling. Most noise I ever heard from crows, and it sounded like someone was getting hurt. So I went out in the street, a quiet street with no traffic. I stood in the middle of the street looking up, and 4 crows flew out of the tree, chasing away a hawk. A few minutes later, I heard a couple of crows in the tree, so I went back and stood in the road. There was a crow at the very top of the tree. We looked at each other, and I talked to him. He took off and flew right over me, carrying something in his talons. Right as he went over me, he dropped it. It came straight down past my chest. I tried to grab it in midair, but missed. I picked it up. It was a hawk feather. In the weeks that followed, I saw the crow when he came for food. I saw a Cooper's hawk who had a scissor tail because he was missing his central tail feathers. In October, the crows started gathering in larger groups, and my friend joined the big rook of crows. Don't listen to them.